You are watching a live scene along new US 25E. Traffic moving freely as the opening of the new Cumberland Gap Tunnel has been complete. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tony Turner, and welcome to our program. It's called The Cumberland Gap, the past meets the present.
I'm Julie Stewart. It's been an exciting day here in the Cumberland Gap as another chapter is added to the rich history of this region, the opening of the Cumberland Gap Tunnel. Thousands of people turned out today for the celebration. Several dignitaries from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia were on hand as the present and the future meshed together. Hundreds of people stood in the cold and rain to be part of the dedication of the Cumberland Gap Tunnel. Dignitaries from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia were also in attendance, each getting the opportunity to say how important the tunnel is to them.
You will be able to look back years from now and say, I was there when that tunnel opened and this part of our great country changed for the better.
Congressman Hal Rogers served as keynote speaker. He's one of the key Washington leaders who made sure money was allocated to continue building the tunnel.
And today we achieve what everyone before and after Daniel Boone has dreamed of, the penetration of the historic barrier of these mountains to usher in economic progress to this isolated region. Cherokee
elder Driver Pheasant offered a prayer in his native language, and recording artist Lee Greenwood performed one of his most famous songs.
Here's the part I like. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas.
Then, to symbolize the people and things that have traveled through the Cumberland Gap, a parade of Native Americans, pioneers, and cars. And so, on this day, the descendants of the pioneers made history, and the Cumberland Gap Tunnel leads the way to the hope of modern prosperity in the next century. And one man who has been instrumental in seeing this project come to a completion is 5th District Congressman Hal Rogers. Earlier today, Tony Turner got a chance to talk with the congressman and got a tour of the tunnel.
Well, I've spent 16 years on this project. I've been up here from the very beginning as the first spade was turned, and I went through the test bore hole through the mountain that was about 10 feet tall of jagged rocks and falling water and mud and everything else. We've encountered every known obstacle to humankind in getting this project through, both politically and physically. So today I feel a great sense, I guess, of relief more than anything.
When you say politically, you're talking about getting funding, because it has been a problem, obstacle. Certainly this is a project that was a dangerous project, and some had actually questioned whether it could be done.
Well, it was first talked about in the 50s, 1956 in fact, so that's 40 years ago. And then it's in a national park. This is the only tunnel in America of a federal highway through a national park. It's a very historic place. So you had the special problems of dealing with the environment and the historical situation. And then it's a very expensive project, $239 million, and that's a very expensive hole in the ground.
And you couldn't get that all in one chunk?
Oh, no, you had to do it year in and year out. So we had battles every year to get the money, and then we had to fight the subcommittee chairman, the full committee chairman. The president zeroed it out twice in the middle 80s. We had to overcome every obstacle that you can. I've cast some strange votes in Congress over the last several years. Now you know why.
I know that you told me beforehand, you said, technical-wise, I'm not really up to snuff as far as what goes on here, but you do know that this is a high-tech operation. We'll let the camera pan a little over here, but this is certainly high-tech.
Well, there's nothing like it in the world. This is the most state-of-the-art tunnel that exists. It's the longest tunnel in the southeast U.S., one of the longest in the world. And is a marvel. I mean, there's just nothing quite like this tunnel.
For you, as you walk into this building, right now we're above the tunnel, but as you walk into here, you've got to realize the opportunity that you perceive happening to this area. As far as everyone says, tourists and visitors and such like that. But are we going to see an immediate impact, do you think?
Absolutely. In fact, you're already seeing it. You're seeing motels go up, golf courses, resorts. The Cumberland Gap, Tennessee town is becoming a Gatlinburg. We've got to realize, now with this tunnel here and the 4-lane highways on either side, linking up I-81 down in Morristown, Tennessee, and I-40 down there, through the tunnel, 25E in Middlesboro, to Corbin at I-75. This highway now becomes the major entrance to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park from the north.
As the congressman gave us a brief tour of the tunnel complex, the insides and the inner workings of the facilities, we made our way down to the portals of the tunnel and talked about the significance of the day.
We've got a united region now. This is a big symbol, I think, of the progress that can be made, the possibilities that we have, and the opportunities that we can realize to keep our people at home working here. That's the #1 game.
Congressman, I know it's been treacherous weather today, and I thank you for bearing with it with us.
Well, the treacherous weather fits the treacherous history of this tunnel.
All right, Congressman Rogers, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. You know, the tunnel is going to bring some changes for many of us who travel through the region. Coming up next, we'll tell you what some of those changes are. Stay with us for more from Middlesboro, the Cumberland Gap Tunnel.
Opened, and the mini visitor center here in the Gap, that will draw people down in here.
Welcome back, everyone. We are coming to you live from the newly opened Cumberland Gap Tunnel.
This project has taken 17 years to complete, and a lot of hope is riding on it. Neil Middleton takes a look at how some of the local communities hope what the impact will be.
It's being billed as the quickest route south. Motorists can shave nearly an hour off their drive time by heading down 25E and through the Cumberland Gap tunnels. That could mean as many as 35,000 cars a day. So towns along the highway are pinning their hopes on tourism. The tiny town of Cumberland Gap is sprucing up, hoping to cash in on its historic name. A convention center, craft stores, and specialty shops opening in anticipation of the rush.
We're hoping that people will get off of the road, but we're really frightened that they'll zip through the tunnel and be halfway to Knoxville before they realize they did not see the actual little village.
Well, I'd like to see the town grow. I like to see it remain quaint as it is, but I'd still like to see it grow and have people, a lot of tourist visitors come through. It's such a beautiful area. It's a shame that more people don't see it, you know, really.
But will those tourists stop or simply arrive at their destinations a little sooner? That's the challenge many of these towns are now facing. The Days Inn is already under construction in Middlesboro, and there are plans for a nationally owned steakhouse to locate next door. In Pineville, the state is upgrading Pine Mountain State Park, expanding its golf course to 18 holes. An unusable lake is being restored, and the city will add paddle boats, docks, and an RV center.
I think they're going to be looking for places like Pineville, because, you know, really most of them have forgot about little places like Pineville, and it enhances their thoughts, and they think fondly back to the time when they were a child and they used to camp out in the mountains and they used to go fishing.
Despite the desire to develop more attractions for visitors, there's also a sense of preservation that is evident among the cities. A careful attitude to protect the most bountiful attraction here, the beauty of the Cumberland Gap.
It's got a lot to offer because it's just so incredibly beautiful here. I don't know, I think especially a lot of people from the retired population will come here because it'll remind them of home.
From the Cumberland Gap, Neil Middleton, 57 Mountain News.
You know, the Cumberland Gap has served as a transportation corridor to the region throughout history.
Yeah, indeed. The opening of this tunnel actually means a new era for this region, and a region which has seen a lot of change during the last decade. A view from atop, looking over the Cumberland Gap. The autumn leaves in full color, appreciated not only by those who live here, but by those who travel thousands of miles.
While we were playing on Cumberland Gap, we went to Chattanooga, and from there on up here just to visit the scenery in the area, look at the fall leaves, which is absolutely gorgeous.
The history of the Gap also attracts visitors, each looking for bits and pieces of the past. What do they usually ask to see? What do they want to see?
Oh, they'd like to know where Daniel Boone stood. But Daniel Boone was all over this area. He had a great fondness for the new opening parts, which will soon become the state of Kentucky. He had a fascination for this area and spent a lot of time in this area. And spent a good deal of time exploring every nook and cranny.
But long before Daniel Boone and Thomas Walker, the Cumberland Gap provided a passage into the region.
It started out as a migratory path for buffalo and animals into the rich grasslands of Kentucky. Then it progressed and was involved for a number of years as a main pathway for the Indian nations in this area. And so the original pathway through here over the gap was the Warrior's Path, which is really a neat story in of its own, and it was used for both commerce during peace times and raiding parties during less than peaceful times.
We're getting ready to show 2 films beginning with the history of Cumberland Gap.
The road into the Cumberland Gap has been well traveled and documented. Centuries have passed, but the beauty and the history of this region will continue to attract thousands each year. And of course, the real work also begins right now, and that's the restoration of Cumberland Gap, getting it back to what somewhat its original contour. That includes new hiking trails, new parking areas.
Yeah, that'll be nice. It'll be real nice. Don't go away. We'll be back with more as the past meets the present at the Cumberland Gap.
Well, we certainly do hope that it improves the traffic flow, that tourists come in. My husband operates a tour business, and we hope that that will help the economy for all of our area, especially with people from out of the area coming in to see what a gorgeous place we have.
Welcome back. Joining us now is Neil Middleton, our Cumberland Valley Bureau Chief. Neil, you were on hand for the ceremonies today. What was the reaction of people in the crowd?
Well, Julie, a lot of pride and hope. And the people that we talked with today say that this is one of the most significant building projects for southeastern Kentucky in years.
I think it's going to mean a lot for Virginia, though the tunnel doesn't begin or end in Virginia. The new 4-lane corridor is going to connect with Tennessee and Kentucky. We have Carlin State Park that's just opened close to Cumberland Gap. We have a Rails to Trails project, a hiking, biking trail from Cumberland Gap that will eventually go into Jonesville.
We're hoping for industry and tourism, something that will open up these mountains, show other people the scenic beauty that we have here.
Well, I hope we'll continue to be friendly and hospitable with people, because I think that means so much. I know during the Mount Laurel Festival, that's the reason people like to come back. And so I hope we continue that trait that we have. And we may not be ready, but we can keep getting ready. And I think that means a lot.
Oh, I think they're trying to get ready anyway, but it's like the rest of the girls said, it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work, that's right. People are so excited about this today, though.
It was a very exciting day and an emotional day for many, too.
Yeah, it was nice. Thanks, Neil. Coming up next, we'll meet the man who is responsible for the actual construction of this tunnel, and we'll learn about what it took to complete this massive project.
Things that this is so important to us here, right here. It reminds me of the movie and the saying, build it and they will come. And there's no doubt that we're going to have thousands more tourists coming through here and visitors coming through here.
Welcome back, everyone. We are live from the Cumberland Gap Tunnel. You know, the actual construction on this tunnel has taken about 5 years, and it's been a project that's been very dangerous. Earlier today, Tony Turner talked with the man responsible for the project construction to get his feelings on the day.
Julie, I'm with David Robinson, who is the project engineer here at the Cumberland Gap Tunnel. And David, you were here right from the very beginning, right?
That's correct. We began drilling here in the northbound tunnel on June the 21st of 1991. We began on the Tennessee side, drilling back toward the Kentucky portal in August of 1991, and we met about two-thirds of the way through the mountain from Kentucky in July the 9th of 1992.
Tell me a little bit, this is an engineering milestone, and certainly in your career, I would imagine.
Well, in many ways it is. As you can see, this is an overthrust mountain here. Kentucky has moved over top of Tennessee, and it made this drilling and boring and excavation somewhat dangerous. In fact, the actuaries that supplied insurance had forecasted as many as 6 deaths in this tunnel. And of course, we were very fortunate to get through here without any deaths and very minor injuries at the most.
Tell me a little bit about the problems that you did encounter. What type of problems didn't happen? You run into water, a lot of water and such?
The predominant problem was water. This mountain makes 450 gallons of water a minute. In addition to that, we ran into a series of caves that run at right angles to the tunnels. We had to preserve those caves, and we knew that the caves were there from a pilot bore that had been constructed in 1986. But we didn't know the extreme nature of those caves.
Do you get attached to projects like this? I mean, you've done several projects, but something like this, you spend so much of your life on this. Do you become emotionally attached to something like this?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like having a child almost. It's like a birth of a child. And in this transfer itself, it becomes somewhat emotional.
David, thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate it. Back to you, Julie. All right, that was recorded earlier, of course, and David Robinson, who is a project engineer. And I got to say that I was really impressed by him because he became really emotionally attached to this tunnel.
Well, you know, I saw him just a few minutes ago. He's been here all day, and I think he may have left just maybe 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, because you have to turn over, like you said, you have to turn over your child to someone else to take care of.
Yeah, and he has turned it over. There are cars going through here about 1,000 a minute. It seems like they're all honking as they go through. And we were talking earlier, I think a lot of people are just going through for the fun of it, going over to Cumberland Gap, Tennessee, turning around and coming back. And
just a few minutes ago, we saw the probably, I think it might have been the Hazard Band, a Hazard school bus. They're down here playing Middlesboro. They decided to kind of take a detour and go through the tunnel.
It's kind of like a party atmosphere. You know, this has got a historical moment. Of course, we've emphasized this all along. But one note, I have to pass this on. I think you and I talked about this earlier. All the talk about Daniel Boone and such. Daniel Boone actually made the first bid on the road project in the Cumberland Gap back in 1700s. They had a bid. They said they wanted to widen the road for wagons. He didn't get the bid.
That's kind of ironic.
The guy who blazed the trail didn't get the bid.
Well, if he could see it today.
Yeah, wonder what he would think if he walked through here today.
Yeah, but there's certainly a lot of high hopes riding on this tunnel right now.
And we have seen cars, I've seen cars from Steady, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia, all 3 states going through here today.
Well, I talked to the tunnel manager just a few moments ago, and he said he's never seen this much traffic on a Friday night. He said they're coming out for one thing, and that's to see this tunnel.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here and show you some more highlights from today's ceremonies coming up in just a little bit. You're seeing, folks, a steady stream of vehicles traveling along 25E, and that's been going on for the last several hours or so, and expected to continue. We're going to see some heavy traffic throughout the weekend here at the Cumberland Gap.
Oh yeah, steady stream going through here. Like we were saying, a lot of people just having fun and looking at it, and it's gorgeous. It's really something you need to see and be proud of. Come down here if you get a chance to check it out. It's
this
neat.
Morning when we arrived, it was terrible. As you can see, I'm still drenched from this morning. Terrible weather, almost like a monsoon out there, and it seemed like you were out here for the ceremonies. Just as the ceremony was getting underway, things started to break just
It was
a little
unbelievable. The rain cleared up. It was still cold and a little windy, but the rain stopped, and stopped just in time for the ceremony.
I think the highlight was probably the pageant when they were going through there. Yeah, the pageant, you had all the wagons and such like that, and the frontiersmen and such.
Okay, it went all the way up to the coal trucks of today.
Right, and we're going to show you a little bit of that pageant as we wrap things up here from the Cumberland Gap. Thanks for joining us for this program. We look forward to seeing you very soon. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.